Today, I beat the hardest Cuphead mod ever created, Cupagoovno. Now, as you can see with the root pack, every single boss in this mod is buffed, and some of these bosses took me more than 10 hours to beat. Also, the inspiration for playing this mod came after watching videos from Soapy and Fintano, so shout out to both of them. Their links will be in the description. Now, as you can see for the first phase of the root pack, instead of just jumping over a single one of these pieces of dirt, we have to do 3 rows of them, so we also have to do some parries to make sure that we can actually get up there, and we have to time our things right. Thankfully, it's pretty consistent, so we get the first phase done without taking any damage, and now we're on to the onion. Oh, and also right here, I'm going to use the new EX that they added for this mod. The weapon is called the Striker, and it does low regular damage but high EX damage. Just going to be useful for a lot of these fights. Then for the onion, the tears can come from any direction, so we always want to be looking out. I just want to be jumping, doing these tiny jumps as much as possible, and yeah, you just kind of have to get lucky during this phase, I'm not going to lie. But then we get on to the last one, which is going to be versus the carrot. In this time, there are 3 carrots that show up and try to murder us, and the radish is going to show up, which is usually a secret phase that only shows up if you don't do any damage to the onion. But my general plan is just to be jumping through these carrots in the middle and trying to dodge my way out of those, all the while just going around not getting hit by this radish, using some EXs when I can. I do get hit right there, but I can use the invincibility frames to go through those carrots. We know they're almost dead, and there they go. Next up is Ribby and Croaks, and for their first phase, they're going to shoot out both the fireflies and the fists at the same time. And for the fists, they're going to be a thing where you can never touch the ground, so we have to constantly be pairing the pink ones. And the plan I like to do for this one is just kind of inch forward little by little. You can see as long as we're doing that, we're always getting just enough height, and then finally we can also dash back because we're getting way too close to the frogs. I'm kind of also just hoping that my lobber is going to hit the fireflies out of the way, but there we go, we get done with the first phase. I'm kind of just waiting these guys out because they go really fast, and then I can use some Striker EX to get some extra damage in before this phase. Ribby will throw a bunch of these bouncing ball projectiles, meanwhile Croaks will use his fan power, and in this mod he can go either left or right. Usually he's only able to push you to the left, so that's kind of something to pay attention to. I just have to keep using my dash in strategic locations and also hope that none of these balls hit me. Here they actually gave me a very unlucky situation where we still have balls coming towards us even when they go transitioning to their last phase, but that's fine because now it's time for the slot machine. This part, not too difficult. All we have to do is dodge the coins, hit the lever, but then they're going to combine all 3 of the slot machine possible results into the same thing. So you can see that all of these are showing up. It can be any of them. We also get that pink parryable thing, which I can parry off of if I need to. That's going to keep us protected, but I'm just paying attention to try not to get hit by any of this stuff, keeping alive as much as possible, using some EXs as well, but we get a couple of jumps right there, and we finally finish off the boss. Goopy is usually one of the easiest bosses, but in this mod, he's not. First of all, as you can see, we can actually go through the sides of the screen to teleport to the other side. Goopy can do that too, so we might as well use his own rules against him, and I'm just paying attention to what direction his face is facing, because that's going to tell us where he's going to jump, but he does these really small hops, and you just want to stay away from him. By the way, if you do end up enjoying this video, please subscribe. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and I'd really appreciate it. But now it's time for the big Goopy phase, and it's pretty much the exact same idea where we just want to stay away from this dude. He's still doing his mini hops, and sometimes he can do his fist attack where you have to jump, parry off that thing so you don't get hit, and it's also the perfect time to use an EX in, so I do like doing that. I'm honestly always trying to get some extra EXs in, like right there where unfortunately I got hit, so sometimes, you know, not the best plan. But anyways, I'm just making sure that I play pretty well. We can take out his second phase right there, get an extra EX in before the coffin comes down, and for this one, what you want to do is just keep dodging out of the way. You know that pretty much every time he is on top of you, he has a chance to slam down, so I'm pretty much always dashing there, getting him some EXs whenever it is safe, and using our roundabout because that way I don't have to actually aim at him. But right about here, as we get a little bit more damage, that's a knockout. Next up is Hilda, and this is the first fight where I'm using a charm, and this one's going to be the coffee charm. This helps fill up your super meter even when you're not doing damage, so it's just going to give us some EXs and supers a bit faster, which is really good for the plane level. Now, what I have to do, as you can see, is dodge these slow-moving tornadoes, dodge all of the little projectiles which spawn into multiple fireballs, and then for this guy's phase, you have these green dudes who are shooting so many projectiles at you, while you also have to dodge the arrows. I'm also going to use a couple of EXs while we're in the air just to do damage to this phase a little bit faster, but we get through that one pretty fast, and thankfully we still have 3 HP. Now, between each of Hilda's forms, you get this little section where it's kind of a calm before the storm, where we just get some general damage, but it's not like it's easy because we still do have to deal with the tornadoes and stuff like that. Thankfully, I get it done pretty fast before the bolt. And for this one, we just barely miss out of the way of that. But we can finish this phase very quickly by using one of our supers, which is a super you automatically get for the plane level. And yeah, helps us get through that one fast, which is nice because that one is definitely one where I lose some HP on often. We're back to an in-between phase, and this one doesn't get any easier. There are 2 tornadoes coming right by me. There's the green guy, and I have to make it between those tornadoes. I do not know how I missed that hitbox, but thankfully we did make it through, and I'm just trying to get Hilda down so we can see her second to last form, which there she goes. And this is another one where I want to use my super to my advantage, because normally it's very easy to get hit by her attack here, especially because it goes in random directions and spawns in weird places, so the super is very nice to take care of that extremely quickly. At this point, we're in a really good spot where we still have 3 HP, but we also still have her hardest phase, so I am watching out for that. I just want to keep this 3 HP into that last phase. I'm keeping track of whenever she uses her hot attack. I'm keeping track of those green guys. Those guys can always be really annoying. But right away, she spawns into the moon. And there are going to be so many more stars that show up here than normally do. And then there's also going to be these UFO guys, which can spawn from the left or the right. Red ones you want to go through, and brown ones you want to bait them out. And I didn't have the best playing here, but we had enough health to get through, and that's Hilda done. Now, Flowey has a really annoying screen effect, so switch to the time at the bottom of the screen if you want to just go to the next boss. I would definitely understand, but at least we get this boss done really quickly, and this is the only one of these screen effects that exists in the entire mod. Now, what I want to do at the beginning is just hang out here all the way to the right and watch as these things come down. I want to make sure I don't get hit by any of them if I can prevent it. And I'm just keeping my way over to the right, trying to watch for the seeds, trying to see anybody who spawns, and using some EXs whenever I can. And we're able to get so much damage just doing this one simple strategy. There are a bunch of people on the ground and stuff like that that normally you would have to deal with, but I'm not even worrying about them until we get done with that phase. And you know it's done because the people stop spawning. I can also get some over damage here because we got at the start of the phase. And now it's time for the vine phase, where he's just going to spawn all these vines, and there are also going to be these guys which pop up both at the bottom and the top of the screen. So you have to jump through them. I want to do tiny hops if I can, or I can also do something like a dash, but I still have 3 HP. I'm just trying to keep alive. Right there, I mess up one of my tiny jumps, so not the best, but we get some EXs in, and that's Flowey done. Now we're on to aisle 2 of Bon Bon, and here's where the difficulty increases a ton, because for this, you have to beat every single one of these mini bosses, and also you'll see that I brought the whetstone for this fight, which allows you to parry off of enemies, so that will be nice in a lot of different situations, but our main thing to worry about for this fight is just not getting hit. We want to maintain 3 HP as much as possible because that's really important for the final phase. But next up, we're going to get the gumball guy. I'm going to use a couple of EXs, which we only have the roundabout EX here, but it's better than nothing. And this guy moves really slowly, so you do have to pay attention to that. Along with the little guys who are moving through the screen, I can parry one right there to get some more EXs. We also have Bon Bon trying to shoot us with a gun, and we'll also jump over this dude one more time, hit him with a whetstone hit, which does a good amount of damage, so that's now 2 of them done, and I'm just paying attention to who is around me. Now, right there, I did use an EX just because I don't want to get to my super. We have a plan for that later in the fight, but now we have this dude who I just barely was able to miss. I'm pretty sure we were on the very edge of his hitbox right there, so I'm happy we didn't actually get hit there, but I'm just kind of maintaining my composure, getting through these dudes. That's now 3 out of 5 of these mini bosses done, and we do have the full super right now, but we're going to save it to the very end. Next up is going to be the gumball, and one thing important to mention here is how Cuphead works is whenever you dash, your hitbox actually goes to the bottom of your feet, so it looks like this in the corner of the screen, and that means we can go under this gumball pretty easily by just using that strategy. But we still have the hardest mini-boss, at least in my opinion, left to defeat, but that is going to be the last one before we can finally actually attack Bon Bon. This is going to be this waffle guy who flies around, is way smaller than usual, and we also have an army of these little guys at the bottom of the screen. So this is especially where the whetstone comes in useful to not get hit there. We just barely are able to miss one of those parts, and I'm just going all over the place. Finally, we finish him off, and we still have 3 HP. So now this is the perfect time to use our super. And our super is a new one added to this mod called Berserker, which fires both weapons at the fire rate of the current one with decreased damage and speeds up time, so we can beat Bon Bon right away. Yeah, that was a really quick ending, but you could see why we wanted to do that, because she had the candy coming both at the top and the bottom of the screen, which would have been awful. So instead of having to deal with that, we can use our Berserker and get through. But now it's time for the genie, and what we have to do for this guy is just dodge all of these different things. There are the swords, there's the rings, there's the head, there's everything coming at us, but we can go through there. We can also use one of our supers, do some extra damage, and then get in some additional damage with a couple of whetstone hits. Now at this point, it's going to be the walls, so I do want to pay attention, because first of all, it isn't going to stop this onslaught of different gems and chalices and all that stuff, so I do have to pay attention to that, stay small, and also just get my damage in on these faces. Every time you hit a face, it will do extra damage to the actual genie as well. It's not just the wall, so that is extra boss damage. I do want to hit both of these spots if I can, and that's what we're doing right there, getting through that actually incredibly well, so we are good to go. And now it's time for the genie to show his face right away, and what I like to do here is come to the top and stay not directly at the top, because you can't actually kill those ghosts that are directly up there, but if we're a little bit lower, we can stay up here and use our other shot, which is this bomb one, to take care of most of this dude's health. The big things to worry about are these Saturns that are flying around. Like right there, I did get hit, but we can use one of our supers, hit the genie directly in the face, and then we're going to use a bunch of whetstone hits during our invincibility frames to deal with that as well. Now we're kind of just chilling for a little bit. The ghosts still are coming, at least for right now, but they will leave. I try to get some whetstone hits in and then fail and then get hit right there. It wasn't even worth it. I don't know why I tried to, but that doesn't matter, because we can still win this fight. We have this dude who is just using these shots, and you can see they're coming from multiple different angles. He's trying to stop us, but we can thankfully get through him. And now it's time for the big genie, and you'll see that I do have a super ready, so I'm going to use that when I need to. I'm looking at these guys using a super there for the invincibility frames, but we will spam a bunch of whetstones and get him done. You already know that means we're on to Beppi now, and this is a very difficult fight, because first of all, there are those ducks up there. You can't actually hit and damage them, and so they're always active. You always do have to worry about dodging them, and anytime they drop the light bulbs, that also spams attacks at you. So there's so many things to worry about just in the very beginning of this fight, but I'm kind of just going through making sure I'm dodging as much as possible. Now after this, once we get this next phase, I am going to want to switch over to the striker. That way I can get some EXs in. No super this time, so we can rely on those. We also have the pea sugar charm on, which means we'll automatically parry anything that shows up, which is really nice for these dogs. And it's especially nice right here, because as you'll see, I somehow just got one of those dogs. I don't even know how. I think I framed one as soon as it spawned in. I got him. So now it's time for one of the hardest phases, where you have this train coming down constantly, and we also have to deal with this dude on his horse. And I'm just trying to go through, make sure I don't die, but that is a lot easier said than done. And this is also where the pea sugar comes in very useful as well. Kind of just parrying off of the train's nose and just dealing with everything. This phase goes on so long, but you just have to keep your composure. That is the important thing. But I wasn't lying when I said that Aisle 2 really increases the difficulty, but don't worry, because Aisle 3 will increase it even more. But as I've said, we're just going through. This phase lasts so long, but finally it gets done and we still have 2 HP. So at this point, I want to use a bunch of these EXs, get a ton of damage in. The train is going to come through, and he's going to spawn in these little penguins. These guys jump through, they use their baseballs, meanwhile the train goes, and they also go extremely fast, so you have to watch out for them, but we finally get it done. Okay, now it is Wally time, and this fight is difficult. First of all, you'll see that there are bullets coming from both the top and the bottom of the screen, so neither of those places are safe. And then also, sometimes you get those red eggshells, which will bounce off the walls, so you have to pay attention to that. You have to pay attention to the birds who are moving up and down as they go through, and yeah, just like a lot of things in this game, there's a lot of things to worry about. I do want to parry things as much as possible, because that will give us more EX stuff, and obviously that's going to be really nice because Wally actually only takes damage by supers or EXs. So I have this figured out to when it's best to use a super and when it's best to use a regular EX. But that puts us on to the second phase, and they decided to bring back the UFOs. Yeah, they decided that one thing with the UFOs, just using them on Hilda wasn't enough. So I do have to pay attention to that while paying attention to the birds and the feathers and just everything at the same time. So there's a lot of things to worry about, but I have found that just staying small is a really good strategy for this phase. Like right there, I might have dodged that if I was small, but again, we're going to use a super directly in this dude's face. But now for the third phase, we have to deal with all of the eggs moving around the boss, going in and out. We have to deal with the big fly guy who's flying around as well. We do shoot through him though, so not too much to worry about. We just have to make sure we don't actually hit him, which is a little bit scary. But as long as I'm getting some good parries, then I can go straight in there, do our damage directly to that guy, and it's time for the final phase, which has Wally very injured, and we want to start at the bottom left. We got lucky here because he went over to the right, meaning we can get some good damage in. Then from here, I just want to make sure that I'm trying my best to make it over there, and I don't really worry too much about the damage for that part. I'm just worrying about living, and we finally get it done. So final boss for Aisle 2 is going to be the dragon, and you can see already just how insane this boss is. You get the fireballs, which can have different moves. You get the tail, which is constantly coming up and down, so I do have to pay attention to that. And yeah, in general, there are just a lot of moves to deal with, just like normal. Actually, I'm going to use the charge shot for the first time in this video, just because it is really good for this boss, and I'm just making sure I am good. Every time I also want to use an EX, I'm going to use the Lobber EX. We did want to have this combination for the next two phases, so we can't take anything like the Striker, which would have been better EX, but the Lobber will be better for phase 2. That's because Grim comes down towards the bottom of the screen, and yeah, he's kind of just down here. He has these fireballs, which will come jump up and try to hit you. So the Lobber's perfect for this because I don't have to aim too well because they are going to go downwards in an angle. And we can also use EXs whenever we want to, which are also probably going to hit him. So with that, I only got hit once. And now we're on to the final phase, which is why we really wanted the charge shot. Because for this one, you have these fireballs. And if you hit the fireballs, then they explode and hit fire in both vertical and horizontal directions. So it's just better for this phase to have the charge shot to make sure I know where I'm hitting. And for the flamethrower phase, we want to make sure we have our Lobber and we can use some EXs to keep ourselves in the air because we only have one cloud here. So it's kind of hard to make sure that you don't get hit by the flamethrower. Sometimes it can hit you even if you're just sitting on the cloud, but that's the boss done. Now to start Aisle 3, we have Rumor Honeybottoms, and this is one of the hardest bosses in this entire mod. Now, there's just so much to deal with. First of all, you got to deal with this first phase, which is just this worker bee, and you have all the other people moving around with their suitcases. But the big issue with this first phase is the platforms. They are constantly moving, and they're not consistently in the same areas. They're always going to be in different places, meaning you have to react to where they're going to be. Now, I'm using the whetstone for this fight. At first, I was actually using pea sugar, just because there's so much stuff you can parry, but whetstone is so much better just because you can parry off the worker bees, you can parry off the bosses, there's so much stuff you can parry off of, so I definitely think whetstone is the way to go for this fight. And another big issue is the pink circle that's just moving around this entire time you have to worry about, so that is something to think about too. But now we get to this phase, where she's going to keep moving left and right, and there are these really big bullets, but you can see if you're all the way to the left or to the right, then you actually dodge out of the way of those things. Their hitbox doesn't cover the entire body of the thing, so that's really nice. It allows us to actually survive. But now to finish off, we have the plane phase, and this is such a hard phase, which you have to be really patient for. In total, this boss quite literally took me around 10 hours to complete, just going through, trying to beat it over and over again. Rumor Honeybottoms, I did not like this boss in the original game. I mean, I guess I like the boss. It was a hard boss in the original game, and it's one of the hardest bosses in this mod too. But I'm just going back and forth. Every once in a while, I do miss my charge shot, like right there. But as long as I keep paying attention, I know I'm good. I missed that one. But finally, we hit that shot. That's a knockout. I felt so good for finishing this. Now we're on to the robot, and for this one, I want to go straight to the bottom and deal with those little plane guys because they're going to constantly be coming out, along with those parryable moving cylinder things. So yeah, we want to parry those as soon as possible. We want to use whetstone to deal with any of the planes that show up, just because they would be really annoying. And the laser is just constantly coming out. Also, once we destroy that, we're going to start getting bombs, but I know he is about dead right there. And I can also use my super right on this head, which is going going to destroy it, and all we have to deal with for this first little phase is going to be this heart. Now, there is going to be the magnet bringing us near there. There's going to be all of these nuts and bolts coming out and the bombs, but I'm kind of just focusing on staying alive. I want to hit the heart as much as possible, but staying alive is my first and most important priority, so I will turn small every once in a while. And we get that done. The head comes out, we can hit it with a whetstone. And now in this one, there are going to be these red cloud things which shoot somebody's face out of them. I don't really know who that's supposed to be, but it doesn't really matter. I just have to focus on staying alive, dealing with everything, and parrying things when we can. That way we get another super, we can hit the robot directly in the face, also hit it with that. But unfortunately, I did get hit a little bit. Still, we are in a pretty good spot, and now we have this next phase, which this is like a Galaga phase, where you have all these planes shooting at you. Some of them are shooting pink stuff, so we can parry that, but all I want to worry about is shooting the top lane. That's because these guys absolutely spam you, so by dealing with the top lane, we know we're not really going to have to deal with that, and then we can come behind them and just use the whetstone on every single one of them, because they're going to keep going forward, kind of trying to just destroy you, but they don't realize we have the whetstone, so this is by far the easiest way to deal with these guys. And I'm going to be careful. I don't want to get hit or anything like that. So we can just go one by one. There's only going to be 3 more. And yes, this is a very long phase, but a nice thing is we do have a super ready. So for the final phase, we already have that good to go, but I was kind of waiting to see what this attack was going to be. He started out with the more annoying one, so I'm going to wait that out. Then he's going to use this one, where a lot of his shots are just much easier to deal with. I'm not even going to do anything for these, and I'm really saving my super right now because I want to use it at a good point. Unfortunately, right here, there's not too much we can do. We do get hit there as well, but that is fine. I'll try to get some whetstone hits on him in some good spots, get a few more, and then finally we can use the super, hit him with a couple more whetstones, and I'm kind of just hoping he's going to die at this point. I thought he would be dead by now, but this phase, just like in the regular game, lasts so long. Thankfully, that is a very easy attack, so we use a couple of our EXs, and there's going to be the knockout. Next up is Sally's Stageplay, and you can see in the top left, it shows us our damage multiplier, and it's increasing. And the reason it's doing that is because this mod replaces the normal heart charm with the Fury Heart, which is where you start with 1 health, but your damage goes up by 2% each second. So it's really useful in bosses where you want to have a glass cannon build, where you're kind of confident you're not going to get hit, but you do want to kill them fast, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. That's going to be the first phase. You can see there was so much stuff we had to deal with, and what I'm doing now is just using my roundabouts because they're going to be able to gain damage. After a while, then I can go and spam a couple of EXs. That's going to deal with that phase right away, which saves us having to deal with these guys who, as you can see, they shoot out milk bottles all over the place. They would normally be really annoying. And then for this part, we have this meteor, which we have to parry off of and then go between there, just barely be able to get that, hit her with a couple more EXs before the lightning can come out, and we're on to the last phase. And this is a really hard one. I want to hit it with an EX right away. We were somehow able to finish it that fast. Now it's Werner Werman time, and this is a very interesting fight, which, like usual, there's a lot of stuff we have to worry about. Now I'm going to bring the whetstone because I do like the extra damage it's going to be able to provide me. And right now, I'm just kind of trying to dodge these cannonballs. We do get hit once right there, but here's an especially good place to have the whetstone because normally you would have to hit that really fast moving projectile to parry it, but instead we can just parry off the boss, making it a bit easier. Now, once I'm down here, I'm going to use the Berserker, which is going to allow me to do a ton of damage just like last time that I used it. It decreases our damage, but lets us fire both of our weapons at the same time, and since we have the spread shot damage, that's going to result in so much of it. Obviously, it also increases the speed of the enemy's attacks, but as long as I got that down, we're good to go, and that's the boss. Which puts us on to Brineybeard, and this boss is up there with the Bee and how difficult he is, because as you can see, there is so much stuff already that's coming through. Basically, all the different attacks that this pirate has come out at the same time, and we have to deal with them all at the same time. It is a very interesting time. Now, what I'm using is the pea sugar, just because every once in a while, that little octopus guy, he is going to shoot out the pink stuff, so we actually can parry it, and it's nice not having to worry about it. And then also, what I want to do is use my super whenever it's available, get one right there. But There's just so much to worry about in this fight. This one took me not as long as the B, but I think it was like 6 to 8 hours in total. It was a really hard boss fight. And now we get to the final part, which might be the worst part, because in here, it is just really hard to not make a mistake. You can see we have to jump over the fireballs. We have to worry about the planks which are falling from the sky. We have to parry off of his laser beam. And we only actually hit this guy whenever his mouth is open. So that's barely any damage we get in. And this just results in me losing so many runs at this one part. But you'll see, we now have our super ready. I got hit right there, so I was like, okay, I have to use it. We have a little bit of invincibility, and I'm just hoping that we'll be able to kill this guy fairly soon. We get a parry, which gives us a bit of invincibility, and he's finally done. That boss is honestly super fun, but also very frustrating at points. And now we have Cala Maria. She's a fun boss. I actually very much enjoy her, but there are definitely some annoying parts as well. Like, first of all, there are going to be these ghosts, which they show you where they're going, so at least that's nice. And the big thing about this boss is that she can combo multiple things into each other. Like right there, there is the fish. There's also the person who's trying to pull me down with the water. Now there's the turtle who's using all of those attacks. And to the best of my ability, I'm just trying to stay alive. But the big reason why we want whetstone for this fight is these different pufferfish, so that instead of just going for the one that's parryable, I can parry into any one of them, and that's very nice because it normally is something you really have to worry about. But now it's time for the eels to come. They turn her into Medusa, but at this point she uses her attack. It turns us into stone, and then she has these gigantic eels which we want to take care of as fast as possible. Thankfully, whenever they shoot, they do give us parryable things, so we can use that to get cards and use those for EXs. That way we can take them out. So pretty much this entire phase is just me just spamming EXs as much as possible, and we get through it pretty quickly. Now, at this point, I really want to get full cards, that way I can have a super. So we have to parry one of these ghost things. Thankfully, we're pretty full, and I'm going to come kind of carefully. I do get hit right there, but I want to explode into her and use those invincibility frames to get past that skull. And there's always going to be a big skull like that. I knew there was another one coming at this point, so what I did is just decided to spam my EXs and hopefully kill her before it came, which it worked. Phantom Express time, and for this one, they add a lot of difficulty to this fight. First of all, these eyeballs, you actually can't destroy them, but they still will block your shots, so you do have to watch out for that. There's going to be all these parryable soap bars which you can deal with, so we want to parry those, get our parry meter up. And also, we're using two mod-specific abilities for this fight. For our charm, we're using the Cursed Heart, which replaces the Twin Heart, and anytime you take damage, it fills your super meter and activates a super if you have one. And then for our super, we're using Sandavistan. This slows down time for everything except for us, and when we deal damage, it drains the super faster. So you can see this super is really useful for this part, especially with all the bones that are constantly coming and trying to destroy us. But at this point, I'm just trying my best to stay alive. I'll do tiny hops, make my way over there, and getting here with 3 HP is actually really good. So I just want to keep that to the best of my ability. At this point, now we're going to get the 2 heads coming out, and you actually only have to do enough damage to one of these heads for it to matter. So I'm kind of focusing on that. I want to keep my health up as much as possible, and you can see I actually went kind of crazy. I can use an extra EX right there and do a little bit of more damage, and 3 HP is really good. Now, how you move this cart is just where you're positioned on it, and they bring back the UFOs again, so I have to deal with that. I have to deal with hitting that heart open, actually hitting it, and you'll see right there, we actually got the super activated because of our charm, so I'm going to use that to make sure I get a ton of damage in. Then I get hit again, but it doesn't activate my super. I think that's because the last super just ended, but we still get the boss done. Now for King Dice, instead of just having 1 heart on each area, there's actually 2, and the reason behind that is you cannot only just fight a single one of these mini bosses, you have to fight 2 of them at least to make it through, and I'll explain why when we get there. But first of all, we're going to land a 3, which you do have to jump on top of those cards. It is a little bit difficult, but we have this first boss, and this man is much bigger than he is usually. And he also has some more people just moving around different projectiles. But our basic plan for this is to use the roundabout. We can just keep jumping over all the little guys and kind of just keep our general stuff. Now, this boss is always going to be consistent. I always know exactly where these different things are going to spawn and move around, so that's a pretty easy knockout. But once we go back to the main area, you'll see that the reason we have to face 2 bosses is the dice is actually going to bring us backwards. So it always brings us forward one time and then backwards the other time. So we're going to have to get a 2. That way we land on the number 1 boss and get another heart. These sections can be pretty long and boring, so I will make a couple of cuts, but if you do want to see the unedited version, I'll leave a link in the description so you can see the full King Dice fight. That dice section did take a while, but finally we're on to this fight, which is going to be the Tipsy Troop, and you'll see they show you where different things are going to come up. What I want to do is jump up into the air and use one of my EXs, and all we need to do is 3 of those, and that gives us the knockout. Then the plan was to hit this 4th mini boss, who's this Dominoes guy, and this is actually pretty hard with the roundabout. Thankfully though, I have the cursed heart, so I'm kind of trying to play this well and not get hit, but eventually once I do, since we have the cursed heart and not a super, we fill up all our cards and can beat him easily. Then my plan was to get to the 6th boss fight, but I accidentally got a 2 and got to the 5th, which this is the bunny, and I'm not the most practiced in this boss fight, so I wanted to end it quickly. I was using some EXs, and then there's also this skull move, which is really annoying. We also have that move where what we want to do is parry one and then also dash through it. 2 HP down, not the biggest deal. But after that, I wanted to get over to the 6th boss, because while it's a fight we don't really need to do, it's worth it because I knew I could beat him easily and get that extra heart. All I'm gonna do is just dodge some of these attacks, use our big bomb super attack, and just finish him out. Then I wanted to get 8, messed up again, and got over to 7. Look, this dice part is pretty hard, but at least we get to show some other bosses like this one who I kind of messed up on there getting hit. But after that, all I'm going to do is spam a couple of EXs. I didn't notice that she actually stops being able to get hit for a second, so kind of wasted some. Then I wanted to get straight over to the 9th boss, which we succeeded in. In this one, I'm not gonna lie, I completely cheese by taking a picture of all these cards on my phone. So I do remember 2 of them right at the beginning, but then I'm gonna go pause the screen and look at my phone just to make sure I actually do it right. Look, this game is really hard. I gotta take what I can get. But while we're doing this fight, I want to give a couple shoutouts. First off, again, Soapy and Fintano made great videos that inspired me to play the mod, and then 2 other great speedrunners who have done this mod are Grandios and Jason2890. Whenever I got stuck on some bosses, I would often look up other people playing them, and yeah, these were just great resources, and they're also great YouTubers and speedrunners. There's also this channel, Roguelic, who's been S-ranking all the bosses, and that's really impressive. And finally, there's the creator of the mod, Waffle Interactive. All these links will be in the description. But that's the boss fight done once we finish the matching. Then, I can't remember if this was a mistake or not, but I did hit the 1 and we're doing the 8th boss. And I'm not sure if it was a mistake because we did get the extra HP, but this boss is pretty difficult. We are using some EXs, we do get hit there, so it's not like it really mattered at the end of the day, but I guess we got him done. Now finally, after a while of bouncing around, we do hit the 3, we're able to fight King Dice. In this part, you have the cards that are coming by, and you also have those fireballs that we have to deal with, so I'm kind of just maintaining my composure, using some EXs whenever I can, and we have plenty of health, so I wasn't too worried, and we also get the knockout there. And that means we're finally on to our last boss, the Devil, and for this one we want to use the Fury Heart, so our damage goes up by 2% every second, and we're also going to use Berserker, so eventually we can just get so much damage on this boss. But the first phase of this fight is going to be really hard. You see at the beginning, we have to constantly be jumping off this big fireball in the middle. So I'm kind of just paying attention to that. This part, especially dodging out of the way of all these balls, is kind of difficult. But as long as you're keeping your cool, it's not the worst thing in the world. And now we do have our super, meaning I can't use any of my specials. But I don't need them because since we have the Fury Heart, we get through the Devil's first phase so fast. And here's where the game really starts getting insane. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the way I beat this boss is kind of cheese, but at the same time, I was thinking back, and you know how long it took me to beat Brineybeard in the B? Just because of that, I do not feel bad about using some cheese to defeat the Devil. So we take him out, and that is Cupagoovno done. Subscribe if you enjoyed. Bye.